All gas, no brakes. Business development is relationship building. Business is the ultimate sport. Whether you're a prime, whether you're a sub, whether you're sole sourcing, you got to get in the deal flow. If you don't know how to get attention, you're going to starve in this thing we call government contracting. You need to understand what is your competitive advantage. You need to have a competitive strategy. This is a numbers game. You got to develop a bidding pipeline. I find far too many students who put bids in at prices they cannot afford. If you're in the services-based business, you need to know how to recruit. If you're in the product-based business, welcome to my channel. My name is Dr. Curtis A. Merriweather Jr. I want to welcome you to the channel. Now, the purpose of this channel is to educate entrepreneurs to overcome common business challenges. Now, the way we do this is by providing education, consultation, and training support services to business owners and government contractors alike. Now, the goal of this channel is we want to help you lower your learning curve and accelerate your business profitability. Now, our channel is unique because it's based on 27 years of progressive government contracting experience, advanced education. Many of you guys know in 2023, I did receive my Ph.D. in management. And we just want to make sure that we're giving you value-added content that's going to help you on your government contracting journey. Now on the screen, you're going to see my new IG handle. Please note, I do have a new IG handle. Now on your screen, you're going to see our URL for the 8-figure government contracting teaching platform. We call it 8-figure GovCon. That URL is on the screen. You can also go directly to our course store library. You heard me, that you can go directly to our course store library. Now, before I jump into my topic, on February 6, 2024, I'll be doing our next free information session. This is where you'll be to come talk to me live. You'll get some free information and some free content, and I'll be doing a live Q&A at the end. It is free, but registration is required. Now, gear up. I am coming to Richmond, Virginia in April of this year, April 2024. So go to our website. You'll see some information so you can sign up. That will be coming forth in a few days. But I will be coming live to Richmond, Virginia in April of this year for a live event. So if you want to see me live, there will be some information that will be on our website in a few days so you can tap in and join into a live session with me. And I will have a special guest. I want you to like, I want you to share, and I want you to subscribe to this channel so anytime I produce new content, you will be notified most promptly. And don't forget to hit the notification bell. Okay, I have a great title for you all today. Now you can see the title. And I got something I want to talk about this very pressing. We're in the new year. We're in 2024. And I want to give you 5 tips that's going to help you in your government contracting journey. Now, this won't be a how-to video, but it's going to be 5 tips that I think are absolutely vital for you to find success in 2024. So let's jump right on in. Very first tip, you got to learn how to communicate or uncover the value. You need to do both, actually. You got to learn how to communicate the value and uncover value if you're going to find success in this thing we call government contracting. Now, when I say communicate value, what am I talking about? You have to be able to identify requirements, needs, and or pain. Let me say this again. You got to be able to identify requirements, needs, or pain. Okay, how do I go about doing this? You say, Dr. Kurt. Well, you need to, first of all, look at your federal solicitations in Section C. This is your request for proposals. The proposal outline is pretty standard. And in Section C, there's going to be something called either a PWS, known as a performance work statement, or Section C is also going to be referred to as SOW, which is a statement of work. Now, if you want to go get information about previous awards, if you do the things I teach on this channel, going and getting some historical data by looking at sites like usaspending.gov or fpds.gov. You go look at those sites and you know what you're doing. You can do a Freedom of Information Act. That's a FOIA request. You want to do a Freedom of Information Act request. This is one way you can get some historical real-time data on previous acquisitions directly from said customer. Now, the federal government has a requirement that they have to be able to respond to your Freedom of Information Act request. They can't give you, of course, any proprietary or classified information, but any information that has not been deemed proprietary, the government has to release. So let me go ahead and go down a quick rabbit trail. When you are producing your proposals, you need to make sure at the bottom you're saying source selection information or you're marking it proprietary information. Okay, you want to make sure the government is not confusing your information with information that is publicly releasable. So it's going to be important. Again, you mark your proposals at the bottom on the footer. On every page, it needs to be marked source selection information or proprietary or confidential. You do not want your information being inadvertently released to the public when they decide to do a FOIA or a Freedom of Information Act request. That was free. Now, let's go back to our topic. We're talking about communicating and uncovering value. Now, once you identify the need, you need to suggest a product or service offering in your portfolio that addresses the requirement, the need, or the pain that your customer is having. This could be a prime pursuit or it could be a subcontractor pursuit, but you need to be able to communicate and uncover the value that your company provides. Now, you say, well, Kurt, how do I communicate value? Number one, you need to address the need, pain, problem, or requirement. This can be an oral dialogue, or this can be in an actual proposal response, okay? But you need to address the need, the pain, the problem, or the requirement. Second thing you need to do, you have to articulate. You got to communicate the product or service offering that addresses the need, the pain, the problem, or the requirement. And then last but not least, you need to be able to tell the organization clearly and concisely why they should pick you. You are not the first, nor will you be the last company who's providing similar product or services. But it is incumbent upon you to properly position yourself in the market and be able to communicate that position in the market. You need to understand what is your competitive advantage. You need to have a competitive strategy. If you want to learn more about that, tap in with me and my 8-figure government contracting community. But let's move to our next point. Point number 2. Business is a numbers game. Now, when I talk about business, I'm also talking about government contracting. So you may hear me talk about government contracting and business, but I'm using those terms interchangeably because your government contracting firm is a business, first and foremost. We just happen to market to federal customers and prime contractors. So number 2, you must understand that business, government contracting is a numbers game. Now, you must fill your funnel with opportunities. I'm talking about your business funnel. I'm not talking about an oil funnel. I'm talking about your business funnel. You must fill your funnel with opportunities. You said, Dr. Kurt, what are you talking about? I'm talking about prime bids. If you are a prime contractor, you need to be bidding on a consistent basis. You need to get into a rhythm where you're doing 1, 2, 3 proposals on a monthly basis. This is a numbers game. You got to develop a bidding pipeline. I'm talking to my prime contractors. If you are a subcontractor, you need to be networking with large primes consistently. Find every opportunity to hit an industry day or a trade event so you can expand the aperture of primes you're talking to, so you can get into the deal flow. You got to get in the deal flow. Everything I'm talking about on this particular point, we're talking about increasing our deal flow. Whether you're a prime, whether you're a sub, whether you're sole sourcing, you got to get in the deal flow. You got to understand the need and you got to capture low hanging fruit. One of the things I like to do when I was subbing primarily, I would talk to large primes and I would want to understand where were their recruiting gaps, which contracts do they have where there's still some needs that need to be filled, where there's some open billets. Understand, if there's open billets on the contract, the prime is not making money. That gives you a prime opportunity to provide some immediate value if you can establish a recruitment and retention engine. That was free. You got to have a recruitment and retention engine. If you're in the services-based business, you need to know how to recruit. If you're in the product-based business, you need to know how to source opportunities directly from the OEM, the original equipment manufacturer. You need to be able to do this effectively and efficiently. Let's keep moving. If you're sole sourcing, you need to be dialing for dollars. You need to be talking to contracting officers and prime and program managers at the federal agency. So I'm talking specifically to my 8As and my hub zones. Now, there is some other opportunities you can get from a set-aside perspective for SDVOSBs and for your hub zone, and for your woman-owned small businesses. But sole sourcing is alive and well, especially for my 8As and for my hub zones. You need to be dialing for dollars. You need to stay on the contracting officer's radar, okay? The squeaky wheel will get the grease. You got to be dialing for dollars. You got to stay in the deal flow. You got to be out here screaming, getting attention. If you don't know how to get attention, you're going to starve in this thing we call government contracting and in the business world in general. You got to know how to grab the attention of your customers, okay? Business is objective, not subjective. It is a quantitative game, not a qualitative game. Now, I know there's some qualitative pieces. Now, you say, Kurt, when you say quantitative, what are you talking about? I'm talking about being numbers driven. Qualitative is very subjective. It's about the lived experience. I'm talking about, this is a quantitative game. There are some qualitative aspects, but this is a quantitative game. You got to be data driven. You got to be driven based on your KPIs, your key performance indicators, and you got to have your financial metrics. This is a numbers game. Business is the ultimate sport. Let's keep moving, guys. Let's keep moving. Number 3, business is relationship driven. You say it one more time. Business is relationship driven. You cannot be afraid to engage customers. You cannot be afraid of the phone. You got to be willing to smile and dial. You got to be willing to, what we call press flesh. You got to be willing to, I call it shaking hands and kissing babies. You got to learn how to be a politician in this game we call business. You got to know how to develop likability, develop rapport out of thin air. Now, when we talk about understanding that business is relationship driven, people do business with people they like and they trust. So you have to know how to build rapport. Now, I did a previous video on YouTube. Go to my channel. I did a previous video on YouTube called Relationship Building for Government Contractors. I give you an acronym in that video, and I talk to you about how to build relationships out of thin air. But I'm not going to regurgitate that video today. But you got to learn how to establish commonality and likability by focusing on your similarities. That's what you got to do. Relationship is based on, relationship is the currency of this thing we call business. Your ultimate commodity in this thing we call business or government contracting is your relationships. You have to have and you have to build solid relationships. Now, don't tell me, well, Dr. Kurt, you've been in the game a long time. That's why you got the relationships. When I got started, I did not have the relationships. I had relationships, but because of the fiduciary responsibility and the legal documents I signed departing the Department of Defense, I was not able to capitalize on my relationships. I had to sign paperwork that said I understood and I was going to comply with the legal documents I signed. So the relationship I had could not help me. I had to go and learn how to build relationships. You got to learn how to build relationships. If you don't learn how to build relationships in this game, you will starve. If you say, I'm not a people's person, Dr. Kirk, either you need to hire someone that's a people's person, you need to get over your shyness and your introvertedness, but someone has to go out and do the business of relationship building. Business development is all about relationships. It's the forward facing, it's the customer facing aspect of business. And somebody in your organization, if it's not you, then who? Somebody in your organization has to do the business of relationship building. So our business development is. Business development is relationship building. Relationship building with a purpose. Relationship building with an intent to drive sales, top line and bottom line revenue. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Let me keep on moving. Number 4, you got to emotionally detach. Say, Dr. Kirk, what you talking about? You talking about emotionally detaching. You have to emotionally detach. I find far too many companies getting hung around the axle, waiting on when is that last proposal I submitted gonna get awarded. You got to set it and forget it. Better stated, you got to submit it and forget it. You got to submit it and forget it. You must disengage emotionally after you submit the subcontracting proposal or the prime proposal. Put your best foot forward and keep moving. See, oftentimes we get stuck. We stall. We feel like we can't do anything else because we haven't heard back from that customer about that last opportunity. It takes sometimes months. I've even seen years sometime before contract awards get awarded. So you got to keep on keeping on. You got to hit all gas, no brakes. After you put your processes and systems in place, you got to keep moving. You have to emotionally detach. When you lose, still ask for the debrief. If you lose an opportunity, ask for the debrief. If you win an opportunity, ask for a debrief. Learn how to become a learning organization, but you cannot be a learning organization if you are emotionally invested in the past. We have to be forward looking. We have to move forward. We are visionaries. We learn from the past, but we adopt and overcome. We adapt and overcome. That's what we do. But in order to do that, you have to emotionally detach. You cannot get tied to these bids. You put in your best bid, put in your best foot forward, and let the chips fall where they may. Now learn from the chips falling, because I need you to ask for the debrief. Win or lose, we need to better our best, but I need you to emotionally detach. Far too many drown in the sea of their sorrows. We don't have time to do that over here, especially in this new year we're in. I need you to emotionally detach. Again, remember, this is an objective game, not a subjective game. You may have done everything right, and your pricing may have been slightly off. That's fine, because my students put in prices they can live with. I am more concerned about you putting in a bid with pricing you can live with versus winning a bid. I find far too many students who put bids in at prices they cannot afford. And then the thing that's supposed to be a benefit to the organization feels like a curse because they don't have any profitability built into the proposal. That's why we got to emotionally detach and be objective in our business processes and systems. Let me keep moving, y'all. Let me keep moving. Number 5, last but not least, we got to level up and go big. You got to level up and go big. Some of y'all are still playing small. You said, what do I mean? Many of you guys play small for too long. Now, I'm not telling you if you're a brand new company to go and bid a $90 million contract. I'm not saying that. If that's what you heard, that was not my intention. But I'm saying that you gotta be willing to stomp with the big dogs. That's what I'm saying. You gotta be willing to stomp with the big dogs at your level. Let me put the caveat. Stomp with the big dogs at your level. If you have the financial resources and the infrastructure in place, go for the more significant deal. Let me repeat this. If you have the financial resources, the infrastructure, the capacity in place, pursue the larger deal. If you are a subcontractor, get your feet wet. So if you brand new at this game, you still trying to figure out this thing we call government contracting, start subbing. There's nothing wrong with the sub. The large businesses prime and sub. So why aren't you? Leidos, Lockheed, they prime and sub. We're talking multi-billion-dollar businesses. So don't you dare snub your nose at the subcontract. You got to, at the subcontract level, you're putting processes and procedures in place so you can begin scaling. So you can begin scaling the business. We all have to start somewhere. Number two, you got a sole source. So most people start with the subcontract. The next natural progression in this process is the sole source. I'm talking mainly to my 8As. This is where most businesses gain a significant prime contractor experience. The sole source, the simplified acquisition. It may even be the micro purchase, but this is where there's a direct award to you. Your name is on the dotted line. Now, in this type of arrangement, whether we're talking micro purchases, whether we're talking simplified acquisitions, or whether we're talking what we know as a traditional sole source, these awards are often based on relationship. Oftentimes, the customer has gotten familiar with you. That federal agency knows who you are, and you were top of mind when a need arose in their organization. Maybe you just happened to be at the right place at the right time, and the customer felt warm and cozy, felt comfortable, given an opportunity to you. We all need our first shot. Sole sources, simplified acquisitions, and micro purchases are sometimes our first bite at the prime contracting apple. Let's keep moving. Number three, so we talked about subcontracting. This is where you get your feet wet. Maybe you got a sole source. The next rung in our progression is set-asides. This is a restricted category. It could be a small business set-aside. It could be an 8A set-aside. A woman-owned small business set-aside. A woman-owned small business, WSB. It could be an SDVOSB set-aside. Service-disabled, veteran-owned small business. It could be a hub zone set-aside. They have restricted the competitive landscape. Only people in the small business category or the 8A or the hub zone, whatever the set-aside is, can compete for a bite of the apple. You are beginning to learn how to compete for significant contract awards, and you're learning how to manage your subcontractors in accordance with the FAR. Now, based on all the videos I put on this channel, I hope no one is talking about middleman strategy still and brokering. If so, please go look at the last video that Guy Timberlake and I did on Middleman Revisited, where the federal government weighed in on our position and agreed with us. But that's all I'm going to say. But last and not least, in our progression, we talked about subcontracting, sole source, set-asides. Last and the big kahuna is full and open competition. This is where you are the unrestricted category competing against large business, mid-tiers, and brave smalls. This is where you got your processes and procedures in place. You understand how to do a subcontractor plan in accordance with the FAR. You understand how to do vendor management support. At this level, you even have honed in your pricing. You understand cost pool. This is the progression. So I want you to go big sooner. When you feel like you have the financial resources and the infrastructure and capacity, scale up. If you're subbing, go for a sole source. If you've been sole sourcing a couple opportunities, go for a set aside. If you've done 2 or 3 set asides and you're feeling warm and comfortable, move up to the full and open competition. And when you start doing full and open competition, now you're ready to put this thing on the auction block for a sale. You're ready to exit at this point. You get 2 or 3 full and opens under your belt, and you're a small business and you've done the things I teach in the 8-figure government contracting community, you ready for an exit. I told y'all the story about my friend, and you can Google it. I'm not going to call his name because I normally leave that information for my students. $40 million business, sold to Honeywell for $249 million. I can tell you the name. I can point you to it on Google. We make our money on the exit. So I need you to go big soon. That's all I got for y'all in this video. Now, what I need y'all to do, I need you to go back and watch some of my previous videos, and I'll see you in a future video. Until next time.